Darkness blankets the landscape, a primordial night unlike any we know today. No streetlights pierce the veil, no screens glow in the distance. Only the vast canopy of stars, brilliantly alive, casting faint shadows across an ancient world that existed 200,000 years ago. Imagine standing at the entrance of a shallow cave, your bare feet pressed against cool stone. The air carries the scent of damp earth and vegetation. In the distance, unfamiliar calls of nocturnal predators echo through the valleys. This is not your world. This is the world of your ancestors, not the ones recorded in history books or family trees, but those who lived countless generations before writing existed. The ones who faced a world where humans were not yet the dominant species. Something is about to change everything, a revolution so profound that without it, you would not be listening to these words now. A transformation so fundamental that it would forever alter the trajectory of our species and redefine what it means to be human. Fire. Not just any fire, controlled fire. Fire that doesn't just destroy or threaten, but serves. Fire that extends the day, pushes back predators, transforms food, and perhaps most importantly, becomes the centerpiece of human social life. Throughout this documentary, we'll explore the extraordinary story of how our ancestors first tamed flames, and how that single innovation triggered a cascade of changes that would make us who we are today. The evidence is scattered. Fragments of charred bone, microscopic plant residues, ancient hearths buried under millennia of soil. But the mystery remains. Exactly when, where, and how did humans first control fire? And why did it matter so much? Some archaeological findings suggest humans may have controlled fire as early as 1.5 million years ago. Others point to more recent timelines. But somewhere around 200,000 to 400,000 years ago, something critical changed. Fire became not just an occasional tool, but a constant companion. It became technology, cuisine, protection, community. It became the center of human life. And with it came changes to our bodies, our brains, and our social structures. The human digestive tract shortened. Our jaws and teeth became smaller. Our brains grew larger. And something else emerged, something uniquely human that would eventually lead to language, art, and civilization itself. Tonight, we'll travel back to a turning point in human evolution. We'll examine the evidence for when and how our ancestors first captured the power of flames, and we'll consider what it meant for the development of the human mind. We'll ask provocative questions. Did fire give us time to think? Did cooking food provide the extra energy our growing brains required? Did gathering around flames at night create the conditions for storytelling, planning, and collective imagination? This isn't just academic speculation. Understanding how fire transformed humanity helps us understand ourselves today. Our relationship with technology, our social habits, even our sleep patterns, may all bear the imprint of that ancient revolution. Consider this. Without controlled fire, human evolution might have taken an entirely different path. We might still be creatures of daylight hours only, with different brains, different social structures, and vastly different capabilities. Throughout our journey, we'll separate legend from evidence, speculation from archaeological fact. We'll explore competing theories and weigh their merits, and we'll consider what this ancient relationship with fire means for our future. So as you settle in, imagine those first flames flickering in the darkness of prehistory. Imagine the faces of early humans illuminated by the warm glow of a controlled hearth, experiencing for the first time what would become the universal human experience. The campfire, the hearth, the place where humanity truly began to emerge. Join me as we explore a world 200,000 years ago, when fire changed everything. Chapter 2. What if fire never came? What if it never happened? What if humans never mastered fire? This isn't merely a thought experiment, it's central to understanding what makes us human. The stakes of this prehistoric innovation were nothing less than the future of our species. Without fire, we would be fundamentally different beings. Our physical evolution would have followed alternative pathways. Our social structures would bear little resemblance to what we know today. Even our minds might function differently. Consider your daily routine. You likely woke up in a climate-controlled environment, consumed cooked food, used electricity. All of these, from the simplest cup of coffee to the most sophisticated technology, trace their lineage back to that first controlled flame. The mastery of fire represents perhaps the most consequential technology humans have ever developed. More significant than the wheel, more transformative than agriculture, more fundamental than writing or the internet. Fire gave us more than warmth and protection. It gave us time. Night was no longer a period of enforced inactivity. With flames pushing back the darkness, human days effectively doubled. This extended day meant more hours for social interaction, for sharing knowledge, for planning. It created space for the development of what anthropologists call culture, the accumulated wisdom and practices that extend beyond instinct. Without fire, humans would have remained largely diurnal creatures, active primarily during daylight hours. Our sleep patterns, our social schedules, our entire relationship with time would be unrecognizable to us today. Perhaps even more significantly, fire transformed our diet. Cooking breaks down complex plant structures and denatures proteins in meat, making nutrients more accessible and food safer to eat. This nutritional revolution had profound biological consequences. With easier to digest food, our intestinal tracts shortened. Energy previously dedicated to the hard work of digestion became available for other purposes, particularly our energy-hungry brains. The human brain requires an extraordinary amount of calories to function. Approximately 20% of our energy goes to powering our cognitive abilities. Without the caloric efficiency provided by cooking, this metabolic math simply wouldn't work. Richard Wrangham, a biological anthropologist at Harvard, argues that cooking was not just beneficial but necessary for human evolution. He suggests we are literally the cooking apes, a species defined by our relationship with fire. Consider the social implications as well. Around flames, humans gathered at night, faces illuminated, voices carrying in the darkness. This circular arrangement, what anthropologists call the hearth effect, created the conditions for uniquely human interactions. Stories were told, plans were made, knowledge was shared. The firelight circle may have been where language itself flourished, where teaching became formalized, where cooperation extended beyond immediate family groups. Without this nighttime gathering space, human sociality might have remained more similar to that of other primates. Elaborate culture might never have emerged. The seeds of civilization might never have been planted. Even our sleep may have been transformed by fire. Anthropologists studying contemporary hunter-gatherer groups find their sleep patterns differ from industrial societies, but still show the influence of evening firelight. The stakes extend beyond evolution. Fire mastery represents something profound about human potential. It demonstrates our species' unique capacity to control natural forces and reshape our environment to serve our needs. This capacity, to take something dangerous and make it useful, defines human technological innovation. From fire to nuclear energy, we have consistently harnessed powerful forces that both threaten and serve us. The story of fire acquisition is also the story of knowledge transmission. Once discovered, fire had to be maintained and the techniques for creating it preserved and taught. This required language, memory, and teaching. Without this foundation, human cumulative culture might never have emerged. Each generation would start anew, rather than building on previous knowledge. Progress would be limited or non-existent. The consequences reach into every aspect of human experience. Art required firelight to move into caves and continue after sunset. Metallurgy and ceramics, foundational technologies of civilization, depend entirely on controlled heat. Even our emotional lives bear the imprint of fire. The comfort we feel in warm, softly lit spaces may echo ancient evolutionary adaptations to the safety of the campfire circle. As we explore when and how humans first controlled fire, we're really asking, when did we become truly human? When did the unique trajectory of our species begin? When did we first display the capacity that would eventually reshape the entire planet? The stakes could not be higher. Without fire, we would not be who we are. And understanding this ancient revolution helps us understand not just our past, but our present and future as well. Chapter 3. Historical context. To understand the fire revolution, we must first place ourselves in the world of 200,000 years ago. This was not the world as we know it today. Continents were familiar in shape, but dramatically different in climate and inhabitants. Earth was emerging from a glacial period. Ice sheets had retreated from their maximum extent, but temperatures remained cooler than today. Vast grasslands covered regions that are now forests or deserts. The planet was in flux. The human family tree was far more diverse than it is now. Multiple hominin species coexisted across Africa, Europe, and Asia. Some we know well: Neanderthals in Europe, Denisovans in Asia, and our own ancestors, early Homo sapiens in Africa. Others remain more mysterious, like Homo naledi in South Africa or the diminutive hobbits of Flores Island. Each represented different evolutionary experiments in being human, with varying anatomies, technologies, and behaviors. Our own species, Homo sapiens, was still in its infancy. The oldest confirmed fossils of anatomically modern humans date to roughly 200,000 to 300,000 years ago from sites like Jebel Irhoud in Morocco and Omo Kibish in Ethiopia. These early members of our species would be recognizable to us today, but with subtle differences. Their faces were slightly more robust, their skulls a bit differently shaped, but they had the high, rounded craniums that housed brains comparable to our own. What separated us from other hominins was not yet cultural complexity or technological superiority. In many ways, Neanderthals and other contemporaries had similar capabilities. The human revolution was still in its early stages. The landscape teemed with megafauna now extinct, woolly mammoths and rhinos in cooler regions, giant cave bears and lions in Europe, massive ground sloths in the Americas, a world of giants, more diverse than our modern safari fantasies. Predators posed significant threats. With more limited weapons technology, humans were not yet apex predators. Cave lions, saber-toothed cats, and other carnivores regularly hunted hominins. Nightfall brought real dangers. Plant resources varied dramatically by region, but required knowledge and processing. Many tubers contained toxins that needed to be removed. Seeds required grinding. Fruits were smaller, less sweet, and seasonally restricted. Stone tools had already undergone significant evolution, from simple Alder-1 choppers 2.6 million years ago to more refined Acheulean hand axes, and by this period, more complex Middle Stone Age toolkits with specialized implements. Evidence suggests some hominins had been interacting with naturally occurring fire for hundreds of thousands of years. Lightning strikes regularly ignited landscapes. Volcanic activity provided other natural sources of flame. But there's a profound difference between opportunistically using natural fire and controlling it, between gathering burning branches from a forest fire and maintaining a flame through a rainstorm, between finding fire and making fire. The earliest disputed evidence for fire use dates back 1.5 million years at sites like Kubi Fora and Chesowanja in Kenya. But many researchers question whether these ancient burned materials show actual control rather than natural fire exposure. More convincing evidence appears around 400,000 years ago at sites like Kasem Cave in Israel and Schöningen in Germany. Here, concentrated burn patterns suggest deliberate hearths, places where fires were repeatedly built in the same location. By 200,000 years ago, the world was poised for a transformation. Our ancestors had the physical and cognitive capacity for complex behavior. They had experimented with fire use, but something was still missing. The consistent, reliable production and maintenance of fire remained elusive or limited. Fire may have been kept alive from natural sources, possibly for weeks or months, but the technology for creating fire on demand was not yet widespread. For context, consider that in recorded history, some cultures still used fire maintenance strategies. In ancient Rome, Vestal virgins tended sacred flames that were never allowed to go out. Similar practices existed in multiple ancient civilizations. This practical need, keeping flame alive because creating it was difficult, had profound cultural impacts. It created specialized roles, shaped daily routines, and emphasized the precious nature of fire itself. The technologies for making fire primarily involve friction or percussion. Friction methods include the hand drill, bow drill, and fire plow, where wood is rubbed against wood until heat ignites tinder. Percussion creates sparks by striking stone against stone. These methods require specific materials, considerable skill, and persistent practice. Creating fire from scratch can take an experienced practitioner 10 to 20 minutes under ideal conditions and much longer in adverse weather. This difficulty helps explain why fire maintenance, keeping flames alive by feeding them, predated fire creation. It was simply more efficient to keep an existing fire going than to start a new one. The historical context of 200,000 years ago was thus one of transition. Humans had the capacity and need for fire, had experienced its benefits, but the technology for reliable fire creation was still emerging. What happened next would change everything, not just for our species but for the planet itself. And the evidence, while fragmentary, tells a fascinating story of innovation and adaptation. Chapter 4. First Evidence. The archaeological record doesn't speak to us directly. It leaves clues, fragments, traces, patterns that must be carefully interpreted. When it comes to ancient fire use, these whispers from the past take specific forms. The most obvious evidence comes from ancient hearths, the remains of controlled fires built in specific locations. These appear as discolored sediments, often reddened or blackened by heat, sometimes surrounded by stones that contained the flames. At Qisim Cave in Israel, dating to approximately 400,000 years ago, archaeologists discovered a central hearth area. Multiple layers of ash and charcoal indicate repeated fire use in the same location over thousands of years. This consistency is critical. It suggests not opportunistic use of natural fire, but deliberate maintenance in a chosen spot. The hearth became a focal point of human activity, with stone tool production and food processing concentrated nearby. Microscopic analysis reveals even more. When materials burn at different temperatures, they leave distinctive traces. Expert archaeologists can determine if fires reached the high controlled temperatures associated with human management rather than wildfire. Burned animal bones provide another line of evidence. When cooked, bone undergoes specific changes in color and structure. Patterns of burning can reveal whether meat was roasted with the bone attached or if bones were discarded into fires after butchering. At Wonderwerk Cave in South Africa, evidence dating to approximately 1 million years ago includes burned animal bones and plant materials. These were found deep within the cave, where natural fires couldn't reach, suggesting deliberate introduction of flames. Stone tools sometimes show evidence of heat treatment, deliberate exposure to controlled temperatures that improves knapping quality. This sophisticated technique appears much later than basic fire use, showing evolving technological understanding. The challenge for archaeologists is distinguishing between different stages of fire mastery. Using naturally occurring fire, maintaining fire from natural sources, and creating fire on demand represent progressively more complex relationships with this element. The earliest persuasive evidence for regular fire use appears around 300,000 years ago. But pinpointing when humans first developed fire-making technology, rather than fire maintenance, remains extraordinarily difficult. Fire-making tools themselves rarely survive. Wooden drills and fireboards would have decomposed millennia ago. Stone striker lights might be indistinguishable from other tools unless they retain specific wear patterns from striking pyrite. Without written records, we must rely on circumstantial evidence. If hearths appear in environments where natural fire sources are scarce, or during seasons when lightning strikes are rare, fire-making technology becomes the most likely explanation. Cave sites provide particularly compelling evidence. Natural fires rarely penetrate deep into caves. When hearths appear far from entrances, as at Chauvet Cave in France, though much later, around 30,000 years ago, deliberate fire introduction is certain. By approximately 200,000 years ago, a critical threshold seems to have been crossed. Fire appears consistently in Homo sapiens sites across Africa. It becomes a predictable feature of human habitation rather than an occasional opportunity. The Pinnacle Point Caves in South Africa, occupied from about 170,000 years ago, show regular fire use. Here, early humans cooked shellfish and possibly used heat to improve stone tool materials, sophisticated fire applications beyond basic warmth. Analysis of sediments from these sites reveals microscopic evidence of ash from repeated burning. The consistency suggests fire had become a reliable technology, not dependent on capturing natural flames from lightning strikes or wildfires. Similar patterns appear at roughly contemporary sites, like Clayse's River in South Africa. Here, multiple layers containing hearths, burned bones, and ash deposits suggest generations of humans maintained control of fire across many thousands of years. This consistency is crucial. Sporadic fire evidence might indicate opportunistic use of natural fires. But when every human occupation layer contains fire traces, deliberate control becomes the only reasonable explanation. Around this same period, something remarkable happens in the archaeological record. Human groups begin venturing into colder environments where, without fire, survival would have been impossible. Movement into these regions, parts of Europe, Asia, and eventually crossing water barriers to Australia by 65,000 years ago, suggests confidence in fire technology. These migrations would have been suicidal without reliable fire-making ability. The evidence becomes increasingly clear. By 200,000, 150,000 years ago, Homo sapiens groups had mastered fire. They could create it, maintain it, and use it for multiple purposes. It had become an essential part of human technological repertoire. But a mystery remains. Did this mastery of fire trigger cognitive and cultural changes? Or was it the other way around? Did advancing intelligence and social organization enable fire technology to develop? The timing is suggestive. The period when fire use becomes ubiquitous roughly coincides with evidence for other uniquely human behaviors. Complex tools, long-distance trade networks, symbolic expression, and innovative hunting strategies all emerge or intensify. At Blombos Cave in South Africa, dating to approximately 100,000, 70,000 years ago, researchers found ochre pieces with engraved patterns. These abstract designs represent some of the earliest evidence for symbolic thinking, a uniquely human characteristic. This symbolic capacity, the ability to make one thing represent another, forms the foundation of language, art, and complex culture. Did evenings around the fire provide the context where such abilities flourished? Many anthropologists believe so. The evidence suggests a feedback loop. Fire enabled new behaviors, which in turn improved fire technology. Cooking made food more energetically efficient, potentially feeding bigger brains, which then developed better fire-making methods. But just as the evidence seems to coalesce around a clear narrative, a startling discovery throws everything into question. Recent findings suggest Neanderthals may have independently mastered fire technology, challenging the idea that it was unique to our species. At El Salt in Spain, researchers found evidence that Neanderthals were routinely using fire as early as 60,000 years ago. Chemical analysis of sediments revealed traces of animal fats and plant compounds that had been heated to cooking temperatures. Even more surprisingly, some evidence suggests Neanderthals may have been using fire even earlier. At sites dating to 200,000 to 170,000 years ago, Neanderthal hearths appear with regular frequency, suggesting technological control comparable to Homo sapiens. Did our species and Neanderthals independently develop fire mastery? Did the technology transfer between species? Or does the evidence suggest fire control emerged even earlier in our common ancestor before the species diverged? The implications are profound. If multiple human species independently developed fire technology, we must reconsider what this means about cognitive capabilities across the hominin family tree. As we weigh this evidence, a new and provocative question emerges. If Neanderthals also mastered fire, why did they eventually disappear while our species flourished? What else might have separated us? The answer may lie not just in fire itself, but in what happened around those ancient hearths. In the words spoken, the stories told, the plans made. In the invisible but powerful force that fire may have helped catalyze human culture. Chapter 5. Contradictions and Anomalies. As we piece together the story of fire's conquest, contradictions emerge that challenge our narrative. The archaeological record, rather than presenting a clean, linear progression, reveals puzzling anomalies that defy simple explanation. Consider this paradox. If fire mastery was so transformative, why do we find inconsistent evidence of its use? At some sites occupied by early humans, hearths appear abundant. At others from the same time period, fire evidence is sparse or absent entirely. At the site of Gesher Beno Yaakov in Israel, dating to approximately 790,000 years ago, archaeologists discovered what appears to be controlled use of fire. Yet at many sites from 400,000 to 200,000 years later, evidence for regular fire use remains surprisingly limited. This inconsistency has led some researchers to propose a provocative theory. Perhaps early humans could maintain fire captured from natural sources, but couldn't reliably create it on demand. This technological limitation would explain the patchy archaeological record. Archaeologist Dennis Sandgaither studied Neanderthal sites in France dating from 100,000 to 40,000 years ago. His findings revealed something unexpected. Evidence of fire use decreased during colder climate periods, precisely when it would be most needed. This counterintuitive pattern suggests Neanderthals may have lacked fire-making technology. If they could create fire at will, why would usage decline during the coldest periods when survival without it would be most difficult? The implications are profound. If even Neanderthals, sophisticated hunters with large brains, struggled with consistent fire creation as recently as 40,000 years ago. What does this tell us about the difficulty of this technology? Another contradiction emerges when we examine human anatomy. If cooking was essential to human evolution, as Richard Wrangham suggests, we should see corresponding changes in digestive anatomy coinciding with fire mastery. Yet the reduction in molar size, jaw musculature, and gut length began well before the earliest convincing evidence for controlled fire. This timing mismatch creates a chicken and egg problem that continues to puzzle paleoanthropologists. Did anatomical changes precede regular cooking, suggesting other factors drove our evolution? Or does this discrepancy indicate we haven't yet found the earliest evidence of controlled fire use? The Wonderwork cave findings mentioned earlier, suggesting fire use around 1 million years ago, remain controversial precisely because they would resolve this anatomical timing problem. But many researchers remain skeptical about whether these represent controlled rather than natural fire. Perhaps the most perplexing contradiction involves our genetic adaptations to smoke exposure. Modern humans show remarkably few genetic protections against the harmful effects of chronic smoke inhalation, despite supposedly living with fire for hundreds of thousands of years. If our ancestors truly lived in caves with regular fires for millennia, natural selection should have favored genetic adaptations to protect against respiratory damage. The absence of such adaptations suggests either more recent fire mastery or different living arrangements than we imagine. An additional anomaly appears in the form of shadow hearths, areas where evidence suggests fire was used, but no charcoal or ash remains. These subtle signatures, detected through specialized microscopic and chemical analysis, hint at fire practices invisible to conventional archaeology. At Schöningen in Germany, famous for 300,000-year-old wooden spears, researchers found evidence of fire use through burned materials. Yet no formal hearths were identified. Were fires built on surfaces that left no trace, or were materials burned elsewhere and brought to the site? The record of fire-making tools presents another mystery. We know from ethnographic studies that fire drills, fire plows, and percussion techniques require specific materials, yet these specialized tools remain archaeologically invisible in the ancient past. Where are the fire starters becomes a legitimate question. The absence of identifiable fire-making implements before relatively recent times might indicate these technologies emerged later than we assume. Chemical analysis of ancient sediments has revealed another puzzle. At some sites, evidence for cooking appears before evidence for controlled hearths. How could food be cooked without established fire technology? One explanation involves off-site cooking. the possibility that early humans prepared food at locations separate from their living areas. This behavior would create a disconnect in the archaeological record between evidence of cooked food and evidence of controlled fire. The geographic distribution of early fire evidence poses additional questions. Why does convincing evidence appear earlier in some regions than others? Did fire technology emerge independently in multiple locations or spread from a single point of origin? In East Asia, sites dating to 500,000 to 400,000 years ago show evidence of fire use, while some European sites from the same period seem to lack it. Does this reflect actual technological differences, preservation biases, or simply gaps in our discoveries? These contradictions don't invalidate the fire mastery narrative, but they complicate it. Rather than a single eureka moment when humans conquered fire, the evidence suggests a long, uneven process with advances, setbacks, and regional variations. Perhaps most challenging to our understanding is evidence that other hominins may have used fire before Homo sapiens emerged. If Homo erectus controlled fire 1 million years ago, as some controversial evidence suggests, why didn't this trigger the same transformative changes? This raises a profound question. Was fire alone sufficient to catalyze the human revolution? Or was it the combination of fire with other uniquely human capabilities that created the transformative effect? Genetics offers another anomaly. Analysis of ancient DNA reveals genes related to smoke detoxification underwent selection in some human populations. But this selection appears relatively recent, within the last 20,000, 30,000 years, long after fire was supposedly mastered. Could our ancestors have used fire differently than we imagine? Perhaps in more ventilated settings? Or does this genetic evidence suggest intensive fire use is more recent than archaeological evidence indicates? The puzzle extends to ancient hearth construction. Modern hunter-gatherers often build fires in specific ways, some raised off the ground, others in pits, depending on purpose. Do ancient hearths show similar specialization, indicating sophisticated understanding? At Kabara Cave in Israel, dating to about 60,000 years ago, Neanderthals built distinct types of hearths. Some appear designed for heat, others for cooking, suggesting a nuanced relationship with fire that contradicts simpler narratives of technological progression. Even more puzzling is evidence that some ancient hearths reach temperatures exceeding 900 degrees Celsius. Such heat far exceeds what's needed for cooking or warmth. Were early humans intentionally creating high-temperature fires for specific purposes? These high-temperature hearths appear alongside evidence of pigment processing. Could they represent early pyrotechnology beyond basic needs? Were our ancestors experimenting with heat's transformative effects on materials? Dating methods themselves present contradictions. Different techniques sometimes yield significantly different ages for the same fire evidence, creating uncertainty in our chronological understanding of fire mastery. Recent methodological advances allow detection of ancient fire through thermoluminescence dating of heated sediments. These techniques sometimes reveal fire use where traditional methods showed none, suggesting our current picture remains incomplete. Perhaps the most profound contradiction involves the timing of cognitive development. If evening firelight discussions drove human cognitive evolution, we should see evidence for symbolic thinking emerging alongside regular fire use. Yet the earliest convincing evidence for symbolic behavior, like the ochre engravings at Blombos Cave, appears significantly later than evidence for controlled fire. This timing mismatch challenges simple cause and effect relationships. As we navigate these contradictions and anomalies, a more complex picture emerges. The story of fire and humanity isn't a straight line, but a meandering path, with false starts, regional variations, and technological ups and downs. This messier reality may actually reveal something more profound about human evolution. Perhaps our success lies not in any single innovation, but in our unique ability to recover from setbacks, preserve knowledge through generations, and gradually accumulate technological complexity. The contradictions don't diminish fire's importance, they deepen it. They reveal fire mastery not as a single event, but as a long conversation between humans and flame. spanning hundreds of thousands of years and countless generations. Chapter 6. Myths and out-of-place evidence. Every culture on Earth tells stories about the acquisition of fire. From Greek myths to Aboriginal Dreamtime narratives, the moment when humans first captured flame occupies a special place in our collective memory. In Greek mythology, Prometheus steals fire from the gods and gives it to humanity, suffering eternal punishment for this transgression. The story captures something profound: fire as divine power, its acquisition as a pivotal moment in human development. Native American traditions often feature animal tricksters who steal fire for humans. In Cherokee stories, it's Spider who brings fire back in a clay pot on her back. In Crow mythology, Coyote carries flames in a bundle of sage tied to his tail. These diverse stories share remarkable similarities, despite emerging in cultures separated by vast distances and time. They consistently portray fire acquisition as stolen rather than discovered, coming from non-human sources, and fundamentally transformative. Why would cultures worldwide converge on the theme of fire theft? Could these myths preserve ancient memories of a time before fire mastery? Or do they symbolically represent the dangerous nature of controlling such a powerful force? Aboriginal Australian traditions speak of ancestral beings in the Dreamtime who possessed fire. In some versions, Kookaburra or Hawk steals fire and distributes it to humans, who then must learn to control and maintain it. The persistence of these narratives across cultures suggests they served important functions. Beyond entertainment, they may have encoded practical knowledge about fire's dangers and proper handling, ensuring crucial information passed between generations. Archaeological evidence sometimes aligns with these myths in unexpected ways. At some ancient sites, the first appearance of controlled fire corresponds with new tool technologies or symbolic behaviors, as if multiple transformations occurred simultaneously. But the archaeological record also presents genuinely anomalous evidence, findings that don't fit neatly into our chronology. These out-of-place discoveries force us to reconsider the conventional narrative of fire mastery. At Zhoukoudian Cave near Beijing, initial studies suggested evidence of controlled fire dating to approximately 500,000 years ago. This would place fire use among Homo erectus populations long before modern humans evolved. More recent analysis has challenged these findings, suggesting what appeared to be ancient hearths may have been natural deposits. Yet some material at the site still indicates early fire use, creating an unresolved puzzle. Even more puzzling are recent discoveries at Kubifora in Kenya, where potential evidence of controlled fire dates to 1.5 million years ago. These findings remain highly controversial, but if confirmed, would dramatically rewrite the timeline of fire mastery. This extreme antiquity creates a troubling paradox. If Homo erectus controlled fire so early, why didn't it trigger the same cognitive and social transformations that we attribute to fire in Homo sapiens? One possible explanation involves degrees of fire control. Perhaps early hominins maintained naturally occurring fire without mastering production techniques. This limited control might explain the sporadic archaeological evidence. Another explanation suggests the transformative power of fire required specific cognitive capacities already present in Homo sapiens. The same technology in the hands of different species might yield different outcomes. Certain archaeological sites present truly anomalous evidence that defies easy explanation. At Border Cave in South Africa, researchers found what appears to be a fire-hardened wooden tool dating to 1 million years ago. The controlled application of heat to wood, a process called fire hardening, represents sophisticated pyrotechnology. If accurately dated, this finding suggests knowledge of fire's transformative properties far earlier than typically recognized. Ethnographic studies of recent hunter-gatherer societies reveal fire-related practices rarely preserved archaeologically. These include fire-based landscape management, communication through smoke signals, and specialized cooking techniques. The Martu people of Australia's Western Desert use controlled burning to manage food resources. This sophisticated ecological knowledge, developed over thousands of years, leaves minimal archaeological evidence despite its cultural importance. Similar practices existed among Native American groups who used controlled burns to maintain grasslands and improve hunting. These intentional modifications of entire ecosystems through fire represent advanced technological knowledge. Could such sophisticated fire management have ancient roots? The archaeological record struggles to capture these practices, creating potential blind spots in our understanding of early fire use. Fire-based communication systems present another invisible technology. Indigenous groups worldwide used smoke signals for communication across vast distances. Such practices would leave no distinct archaeological signature. Even more intriguing are myths concerning special fires with particular properties. Some traditions speak of fires that burn different colors, fires that never go out, or flames with medicinal properties. These stories might be purely symbolic, but they might also preserve knowledge of real practices. Different wood species and minerals added to flames can indeed produce colored fire. Certain combustible materials can maintain flames for extraordinarily long periods. The archaeological record occasionally yields evidence supporting these specialized fire uses. Residue analysis from ancient hearths sometimes reveals unusual minerals or plant materials that may have been deliberately added to produce specific effects. At Sibudu Cave in South Africa, dating to approximately 77,000 years ago, researchers found evidence suggesting intentional selection of specific woods for fuel. Different species were apparently chosen for different purposes, some for heat, others for smoke production. This nuanced understanding of different fire properties indicates sophisticated knowledge. Yet the archaeological methods to detect such specialized use have only recently been developed, suggesting we may have missed similar evidence at older sites. Oral traditions worldwide contain detailed knowledge about fire-starting materials. Indigenous knowledge identifies specific wood combinations for fire drills, particular stones for spark creation, and ideal tinders for catching initial flames. This specialized knowledge, which plants make the best fire drills, which fungi hold embers longest, represents a sophisticated technological tradition, potentially dating back thousands of generations. Some indigenous knowledge about fire seems to preserve memories of climate conditions from the distant past. Traditional ecological knowledge in Australia includes fire management practices adapted to climate conditions that existed thousands of years ago. Could other myths preserve even older memories? Stories about times when fire came from the sky might poetically describe periods of increased volcanic activity or meteor impacts that provided natural fire sources. The archaeological record occasionally yields truly puzzling evidence of advanced pyrotechnology in unexpected contexts. Heat-treated stone tools, requiring careful temperature control, sometimes appear before other evidence of sophisticated fire management. At Pinnacle Point in South Africa, evidence suggests people were heat-treating stone tools by 164,000 years ago. This complex process requires maintaining specific temperature ranges. Too little heat produces no change, too much heat shatters the stone. Such precise temperature control implies sophisticated fire knowledge, yet it appears in the archaeological record before other evidence of advanced fire technology, creating a chronological puzzle. Even more mysterious are occasional findings of vitrified materials, stones partially melted by extreme heat. Natural processes can create such materials, but some examples appear in archaeological contexts, suggesting possible human involvement. These extreme temperature anomalies challenge our understanding of ancient fire technology. Without bellows or similar technologies, achieving temperatures sufficient to melt stone should have been beyond the capabilities of ancient humans. The ethnographic record does show that some indigenous groups developed techniques for achieving unusually high temperatures. Specialized hearth designs, strategic airflow management, and fuel selection could produce surprisingly intense heat. Could ancient humans have discovered similar techniques? The archaeological evidence remains ambiguous, but these anomalies suggest our ancestors' fire mastery may have been more sophisticated than traditionally recognized. Myths concerning the first fire often include descriptions of its appearance, source, and acquisition method. When examined collectively across cultures, these stories suggest fire may have come from multiple sources throughout human history. Some myths describe fire coming from lightning, others from volcanoes, still others from meteors. This diversity may reflect actual historical experiences with different natural fire sources across various environments. The most puzzling myths speak of fire existing in unexpected places, inside certain stones, within specific plants, or carried by animals. These seemingly fantastical elements might preserve knowledge of actual fire-related properties. Certain stones do create sparks when struck. Some plants contain highly flammable compounds. What seems like magical thinking in these myths might actually encode practical knowledge about fire materials. As we navigate between archaeological evidence and mythological accounts, a richer picture emerges. Fire mastery wasn't a single technological breakthrough, but a complex, multifaceted relationship developed over countless generations. The contradictions and anomalies don't diminish the importance of fire in human evolution. Rather, they reveal its acquisition as a more profound, extended process, a conversation between humans and flame that continues to this day. Chapter 7. Stakes Escalation. As we've explored the contradictions and myths surrounding human fire mastery, the stakes of this ancient innovation have only grown larger. What began as a story about technological development has expanded to encompass the very essence of being human. The evidence points toward a profound truth. Fire didn't just change what humans could do, it changed who we are. Our biology, our psychology, our social structures, and our relationship with the natural world were all fundamentally transformed. Recent research in neuroscience reveals how deeply fire may have shaped our cognitive architecture. The predictable patterns of flames activate specific neural networks associated with relaxation, focus, and creative thinking. Studies show that firelight stimulates alpha brainwaves associated with meditative states, the same brain activity that facilitates deep thought, problem-solving, and creative connections. Did the daily experience of firelight literally rewire our brains? Consider how different this is from the experience of other species. Most animals show instinctive fear of fire. Only humans learn to override this fear response and develop a relationship of control and appreciation. This unique relationship with fire may have created selection pressures for specific cognitive traits. Individuals who could maintain focus on flames, predict fire behavior, and manage this dangerous element would have clear survival advantages. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner studied evening firelight conversations among the Juhonsi people of southern Africa. Her findings revealed something remarkable. Daytime conversations focused primarily on practical matters and criticism, while firelight talk centered on storytelling and social bonding. This distinction suggests firelight created a specific social context that fostered the development of narrative, imagination, and cultural transmission. The campfire became humanity's first theater, classroom, and cultural repository. The implications are enormous. If firelight facilitated the development of storytelling, it may have directly contributed to language evolution. Complex narrative requires sophisticated grammar, tense systems, and perspective-taking, all uniquely human capabilities. Recent genetic studies have identified mutations associated with language development that emerged roughly 200,000 to 100,000 years ago. This timing aligns suggestively with evidence for consistent fire use, hinting at a possible relationship. Beyond language, fire may have shaped our social emotions in lasting ways. The psychological comfort of gathering around flames potentially reinforced prosocial behaviors and cooperation. Individuals who shared fire would gain survival advantages. The stakes extend further when we consider fire's role in human migration. Without mastery of fire, our species could never have expanded into colder regions of the planet. Entire continents would have remained uninhabitable. Analysis of ancient climate data shows that during glacial periods, vast regions of Europe and Asia experienced winter temperatures that would be fatal without protective shelter and heat. Yet archaeological evidence confirms human presence in these regions. This cold climate expansion represents a profound ecological transformation. For the first time, a primate species broke free from the constraints of its evolutionary environment and created artificial microenvironments where it could survive and thrive. The implications for human psychology were equally profound. Fire gave humans unprecedented control over their immediate environment. It created a fundamental divide between the dangerous darkness beyond the firelight and the safe, controlled space within. This dichotomy may have shaped core human psychological frameworks. The concepts of inside versus outside, safe versus dangerous, and even civilization versus wilderness may trace their origins to this primordial experience. Recent archaeological research has revealed another dimension of fire's transformative power. Evidence suggests controlled burning was used for landscape management much earlier than previously thought. At sites across Africa, dating to approximately 100,000–50,000 years ago, researchers have found evidence consistent with intentional burning to clear vegetation. This practice would have created edge habitats attractive to game animals, effectively engineering ecosystems. The ability to modify entire landscapes through controlled burning represents a fundamental shift in humanity's relationship with nature. No longer merely adapting to environments, humans began actively creating the conditions they preferred. This shift may represent the first steps toward agriculture, the deliberate modification of environments to increase desirable resources. Though full-scale farming lay tens of thousands of years in the future, the conceptual foundation was being established. The stakes of fire mastery thus extend beyond immediate survival advantages. Fire provided the template for how humans would engage with nature, through technological control, environmental modification, and the creation of artificial conditions. The psychological impact cannot be overstated. Fire demonstrated that natural forces could be not just avoided or accommodated, but controlled and redirected. This fundamental insight may have changed how humans perceived their place in the world. Evidence for this psychological shift appears in the archaeological record through increasing technological complexity. As fire mastery solidified, other technologies advanced rapidly, suggesting a broader change in human approach to problem solving. But perhaps the most significant stakes involve human sociality. Primatologist Richard Wrangham argues that fire fundamentally restructured human social life by creating the hearth, a fixed location where food was prepared and shared. This sharing of cooked food at a central location would have profound implications. It would select for cooperation rather than competition, create new social roles around food preparation, and establish entirely new forms of social organization. Archaeological evidence increasingly supports this view. At many ancient sites, hearths appear centrally positioned within living spaces. Stone tools and food remains cluster around these hearths, indicating they served as focal points for human activity. The cooking hypothesis gains further support from nutritional science. Studies confirm cooking dramatically increases the caloric value of many foods. Starchy tubers become digestible, proteins become more accessible, and harmful bacteria are killed. This nutritional transformation didn't just feed growing brains, it fundamentally changed the economics of human survival. Less time spent chewing and digesting meant more time available for other activities, from tool-making to childcare to storytelling. The stakes continue to escalate when we consider fire's role in human reproduction and child-rearing. Cooking allowed for earlier weaning of infants onto soft, high-calorie foods, potentially shortening birth intervals and increasing population growth. This demographic effect could have accelerated cultural evolution. Larger populations preserve innovations more effectively and produce more variation, potentially explaining the explosion of technological and cultural complexity that followed. The implications extend even to human sleep patterns. Firelight extended the active day, but it also changed the quality of human rest. The red-orange spectrum of firelight doesn't suppress melatonin production the way blue daylight does. This means humans could remain socially active around evening fires without disrupting their circadian rhythms. This balance between extended waking hours and healthy sleep patterns may have provided significant cognitive advantages. Recent studies of contemporary hunter-gatherers reveal sleep patterns markedly different from industrial societies. These groups, who still use primarily firelight after sunset, show more distributed sleep patterns with greater alignment to natural circadian rhythms. Could ancient firelight have shaped our very sleep architecture? The evolutionary implications are significant. If fire allowed for unique sleep patterns that optimized cognitive function, it would provide another mechanism for fire's impact on human cognition. But now we face a critical question that brings all these stakes into sharp focus. If fire was so transformative, why do some lines of evidence suggest it was mastered relatively late in human evolution? If the archaeological record truly indicates fire mastery emerged only within the last 200,000, 400,000 years, how do we explain the anatomical adaptations to cooked food that appear much earlier in our evolutionary history? This paradox leads us to an extraordinary possibility, one that would dramatically reshape our understanding of human evolution. What if the conventional archaeological interpretation is wrong? What if humans controlled fire much earlier than the current evidence suggests? The implications would be revolutionary. It would mean fire's transformation of humanity began not with Homo sapiens or even Homo erectus, but perhaps with earlier ancestors, fundamentally altering our understanding of what drove human evolution. Several provocative lines of evidence support this possibility. Anatomical changes associated with a diet of cooked food appear in the fossil record well before clear evidence of fire control. Could our archaeological methods be missing ancient fire evidence? Fire remnants preserve poorly in many environments. Open-air sites suffer erosion and weathering. Early fire use might have been outside caves where preservation is poor. The absence of evidence might not truly be evidence of absence. New archaeological methods are increasingly finding fire signatures where none were previously detected. Specialized chemical analysis can identify microscopic evidence of burning even when macroscopic evidence has disappeared. Recent discoveries have repeatedly pushed back the dates for various human capabilities. Stone tools once thought to be 2.6 million years old are now dated to 3.3 million. Could fire control be another technology with deeper roots than we recognize? If true, this would mean fire's influence on human evolution is even more profound than we've imagined. It wouldn't just be a technology that helped an already intelligent species thrive. It would be a fundamental driver of our evolution from the beginning. The stakes of this question extend beyond academic interest. Understanding fire's role in making us human helps us understand our relationship with technology in the present and future. Are we fundamentally a species shaped by our technologies? Did fire create a template for how humans relate to technological innovation, initially fearful, then controlling, then dependent? Does this pattern repeat with each new technological revolution? The evidence has brought us to the edge of a profound realization. Fire may not just be something humans mastered. It may be something that mastered us, reshaping our bodies, minds, and societies in its image. And now remarkable new evidence has emerged that may resolve these questions. Recent discoveries from an unexpected location have yielded findings that could fundamentally rewrite the story of fire and humanity. Deep in a remote cave system, researchers have uncovered what appears to be evidence of controlled fire use, dating far earlier than conventional timelines suggest. The findings remain controversial, but if confirmed, they would transform our understanding of human evolution. The implications reach beyond fire itself to our understanding of what it means to be human. If our relationship with flame extends deeper into our evolutionary past than previously thought, the very foundation of human uniqueness may need re-examination. This evidence, combined with new analytical techniques being applied to previously excavated sites, suggests we stand at the threshold of a paradigm shift. The story of fire and humanity may be far older, more complex, and more profound than we ever imagined. Chapter 8. Competing Theories. After examining the contradictions, myths, and high stakes surrounding humanity's relationship with fire, three compelling theories emerge to explain our ancient bond with flame. Each offers a distinct narrative about when, how, and why humans mastered this transformative element. These competing explanations aren't merely academic disagreements. They represent fundamentally different understandings of what catalyzed human uniqueness. Let's examine each theory, weighing its strengths, weaknesses, and implications for our understanding of humanity's journey. Theory 1. The recent revolution hypothesis proposes that full fire mastery, including the ability to create fire on demand, emerged relatively recently, perhaps only within the last 200,000 to 100,000 years, coinciding with the rise of Homo sapiens. This theory, championed by archaeologist Dennis Sandgaith, emphasizes the patchy archaeological evidence for consistent fire use before this period. It suggests earlier hominins may have opportunistically used natural fires but lacked reliable fire-making technology. The recent revolution hypothesis aligns with evidence showing sporadic fire use at many early sites. It also explains why Neanderthal sites sometimes show reduced fire evidence during colder periods. They couldn't reliably create fire when they needed it most. Under this theory, fire mastery represents a crucial innovation that helped Homo sapiens outcompete other hominin species. The ability to create fire on demand would provide tremendous advantages in colonizing new environments and surviving harsh conditions. This timeline aligns with evidence for accelerated cultural innovation. Around 100,000, 70,000 years ago, we see explosions in symbolic behavior, technological complexity, and long-distance trade networks, potentially enabled by the security and social context of reliable fire. However, this theory struggles to explain certain evidence. Anatomical adaptations to cooked food appear much earlier in the fossil record, and some archaeological sites do show convincing evidence for controlled fire use dating hundreds of thousands of years earlier. Theory 2. The deep history hypothesis contends that fire control has much deeper roots. It suggests hominins began controlling fire between 1.5 million and 400,000 years ago, with Homo erectus as the first true fire master. Harvard anthropologist Richard Wrangham champions this view, arguing that anatomical changes in Homo erectus, smaller teeth, reduced jaw muscles, shorter intestines, indicate adaptation to a diet of cooked food, implying control of fire. The deep history hypothesis points to archaeological evidence from sites like Wonderwork Cave in South Africa and Gesher Benot Yaakov in Israel. These sites show potential evidence of controlled fire use dating to approximately 1,790,000 years ago, respectively. This theory provides a compelling explanation for human anatomical evolution. It suggests fire and cooking drove the development of our distinctive digestive anatomy long before Homo sapiens emerged as a species. Under this view, fire mastery isn't what made Homo sapiens unique among hominins. Rather, all later human species inherited fire technology from common ancestors, with Homo erectus as the crucial innovator. The deep history hypothesis also better explains how humans managed to migrate into cold northern latitudes during earlier glacial periods. Without fire, these environments would be lethal to tropical adapted primates. However, this theory must contend with the sporadic nature of early fire evidence. If Homo erectus truly mastered fire, why don't we find consistent hearths at all their habitation sites? Why does the archaeological signal remain so mixed? Theory 3. The progressive mastery hypothesis offers a middle path. It suggests fire control developed gradually across hundreds of thousands of years, with different capabilities emerging at different times. Under this view, early hominins like Homo erectus may have maintained naturally occurring fire from lightning strikes or wildfires. This limited control would allow cooking and some benefits, but without the ability to create fire on demand. The technology for actually making fire, through friction or percussion, may have emerged much later. Perhaps only with Homo sapiens or late Neanderthals representing a critical threshold in human technological control. This progressive view helps explain the contradictory archaeological evidence. Early sites might show evidence of fire use without implying full mastery of fire-making technology. The patchy record reflects real limitations in early fire technology. Under this theory, anatomical adaptations to cooked food could develop even with only opportunistic access to fire. If early hominins could maintain captured fire for extended periods, even without creating it, cooking could still become a regular part of their diet. The progressive mastery hypothesis also aligns with how technological innovation typically works. Complex technologies rarely emerge fully formed. they developed through stages of increasing sophistication and control. This theory suggests fire mastery was not a single revolution, but a long conversation between humans and flame. Different capabilities, maintenance, transport, creation, specialized applications, emerged gradually across hundreds of thousands of years. Each theory carries profound implications for how we understand human evolution and uniqueness. They represent not just different timelines, but different understandings of what catalyzed humanity's exceptional development. If the recent revolution hypothesis is correct, fire mastery may have been the technological advantage that allowed Homo sapiens to outcompete other intelligent hominin species. This would cast our relationship with fire as the decisive innovation in our species' success. If the deep history hypothesis holds true, fire's transformation of humanity began much earlier. It would suggest fire helped shape human evolution from its earliest stages, with cooking driving the development of our large brains long before modern humans evolved. If the progressive mastery theory is right, our relationship with fire exemplifies humanity's defining characteristic: the capacity for cumulative cultural evolution, building on previous innovations incrementally over countless generations. Recent advances in archaeological techniques offer hope for resolving these competing theories. New methods can detect microscopic evidence of fire use even when macroscopic remains have disappeared, potentially filling gaps in the archaeological record. Residue analysis can now identify specific burned materials and cooking remnants at the molecular level. This precision might reveal fire usage at sites where conventional archaeology found no evidence. Ancient DNA analysis provides another avenue of investigation. Genetic adaptations to smoke exposure, dietary changes, or metabolic shifts might provide indirect evidence for when fire became a regular part of human life. As these scientific tools advance, the true story of humanity's relationship with fire comes into sharper focus, and with it, deeper understanding of what truly catalyzed the unique trajectory of human development. The evidence increasingly points toward one of these theories, offering a more complete explanation. But before we examine which narrative best aligns with the latest discoveries, we must consider how new scientific findings have transformed our understanding of this ancient relationship. Chapter 9, Act 3, New Science and Paradoxes, Evidence Meter 910. Recent scientific breakthroughs have transformed our understanding of humanity's relationship with fire. New analytical techniques, interdisciplinary approaches, and unexpected discoveries have revealed aspects of this ancient bond previously hidden from view. Perhaps most revolutionary are advances in microscopic archaeology. Traditional methods might miss evidence of ancient fires, but new techniques can detect heat-altered sediments, microscopic ash particles, and chemical signatures of burning invisible to the naked eye. At Wonderwerk Cave in South Africa, researchers used micromorphology, the microscopic examination of soil structures, to identify burned plant materials and bone fragments dating to approximately 1 million years ago, far inside the cave where natural fires couldn't reach. Similar techniques applied at Kesem Cave in Israel revealed not just evidence of fire use 400,000 years ago, but indications of deliberate, sophisticated hearth maintenance with specific areas designated for different burning activities. These microscopic approaches solve one of the major paradoxes in fire archaeology. The apparent absence of fire evidence at many early hominin sites might reflect limitations in detection methods rather than actual absence of fire use. Another scientific breakthrough comes from dental calculus analysis, examining the mineralized plaque on ancient teeth. This substance preserves microscopic food particles, bacteria, and environmental debris from an individual's lifetime. Studies of Neanderthal dental calculus have identified cooked starch granules and compounds from smoke exposure, providing direct evidence of cooking and fire proximity, even at sites where traditional fire evidence was limited. This technique offers a crucial advantage. It directly links specific individuals to fire use, rather than relying on circumstantial evidence from habitation sites that might have been affected by later disturbances. Residue analysis on stone tools provides another innovative approach. By extracting microscopic materials from the surfaces of ancient implements, researchers can identify processed foods and cooking methods. At sites in the Middle East, dating to approximately 170,000 years ago, residue analysis identified cooked plant materials on stone tools, suggesting not just fire use, but sophisticated cooking techniques for processing vegetable foods. Perhaps most promising are new methods for identifying fire signatures in open-air sites. These locations, where preservation is typically poor, may have been the primary settings for early fire use rather than the caves that preserve evidence more readily. Researchers can now detect thermally altered sediments through luminescence dating techniques. These methods identify minerals that were heated in the past, effectively finding the ghost of ancient fires, even when no visible evidence remains. Applied to open-air sites in East Africa, these techniques have identified potential fire use associated with Homo erectus, dating to 1.5 million years ago, far earlier than many archaeologists previously accepted. These scientific advances resolve some paradoxes, but reveal others. If fire use indeed dates back 1 to 1.5 million years, why didn't it immediately trigger the cognitive and cultural developments seen in later humans? One answer may involve the distinction between fire use and fire production. Early hominins might have maintained naturally occurring fire without mastering techniques to create it on demand. New experimental archaeology provides insight into this distinction. Researchers attempting to keep fires alive using only Paleolithic technologies discovered maintenance could continue for weeks or months with proper techniques. This finding suggests early hominins could have cooked regularly even without fire-making technology, by carefully preserving flames from natural sources. The benefits of cooking might accrue even without complete fire mastery. Another paradox involves fire's impact on human sleep. If evening firelight extended active hours, we should see evidence of changing sleep patterns in the archaeological or fossil record. Recent chronobiology research offers a fascinating possibility. Studies of contemporary hunter-gatherers show their sleep is more segmented than industrial populations, with periods of nighttime wakefulness often spent in quiet social interaction. This segmented sleep pattern, potentially facilitated by evening firelight, might have created unique opportunities for cultural transmission, planning, and social bonding not available to other primates. Perhaps the most profound paradox involves fire's cognitive impact. If firelight and evening social time were so transformative for human cognition, why don't we see immediate evidence of enhanced cognitive performance following fire control? New neurological research suggests a possible answer. Studies of brain activity around flickering light sources show distinctive patterns of alpha wave activity associated with heightened creativity and relaxed attention. This campfire effect on neural activity might have created conditions ideal for certain types of cognitive development, particularly narrative thinking, long-term planning, and abstract reasoning, capabilities that emerge strongly in later human evolution. The delayed appearance of these cognitive developments might reflect the time needed for cultural accumulation, each generation adding incrementally to knowledge bases and practices until reaching thresholds that produce revolutionary changes. Recent genetic studies add another layer to the fire mastery story. Analysis of genes involved in detoxifying smoke compounds and metabolizing cooked foods reveals selection patterns that might help date regular fire exposure. Surprisingly, some genetic adaptations to smoke exposure appear relatively recent. This finding challenges simple narratives and suggests human relationships with fire continued evolving long after initial control was established. The metabolic implications of cooking have also received scientific attention. Studies confirm cooking increases caloric availability from both plant and animal foods, sometimes doubling the energy accessible to human consumers. This nutritional efficiency would provide clear evolutionary advantages. Individuals who preferred cooked food would obtain more calories with less effort, potentially supporting larger brains and greater reproductive success. But another paradox emerges from this metabolic research. If cooking provides such clear advantages, why did it take so long for complete fire mastery to develop and spread? Why wasn't this innovation immediately adopted by all hominin populations? One explanation involves technological limitations. Fire-making techniques require specific materials, considerable skill, and reliable knowledge transmission between generations. These prerequisites might have developed unevenly across populations. Another explanation involves risk calculation. Fire provides benefits but also creates dangers: burns, smoke inhalation, habitat destruction, and attraction of competing predators. Early adoption might have balanced precariously between benefit and risk. New research on human attention patterns offers yet another insight. Studies show firelight captures human attention in specific ways, distinct from other visual stimuli, potentially creating ideal conditions for knowledge transmission. This attentional effect might explain why firelight gatherings became central to human cultural evolution. The focused, shared attention created by flames may have facilitated teaching, storytelling, and collective planning in ways impossible without it. Perhaps the most revolutionary new science comes from the field of human developmental psychology. Studies of how children learn to understand and control fire in traditional societies reveal sophisticated teaching methods preserved across generations. This research shows fire mastery typically develops through carefully structured stages of increasing responsibility, suggesting similar teaching methods might have facilitated fire knowledge transmission throughout human evolution. The complexity of this transmission helps explain why fire technology might spread slowly. Complete fire mastery requires not just conceptual understanding, but embodied knowledge, physical skills and environmental awareness difficult to communicate verbally. These scientific breakthroughs collectively suggest fire's relationship with human evolution was more complex than previously recognized. Not a single revolutionary moment, but a long-term co-evolutionary process spanning hundreds of thousands of years. And now remarkable new discoveries have emerged that may finally resolve the central question. When and how did humans truly master fire, and what were the consequences of this ancient technology for our evolutionary journey? Chapter 10: The Big Reveal. After weighing contradictions, myths, competing theories, and cutting-edge science, we arrive at the moment of revelation. What does the totality of evidence tell us about humanity's relationship with fire, and how does it transform our understanding of what makes us human? The answer emerges not from any single discovery, but from a convergence of multiple lines of evidence. Archaeological findings, genetic research, nutritional science, and cognitive studies collectively point toward a conclusion both surprising and profound. Fire mastery was not a single event, but a co-evolutionary process spanning over 1,000,000 years. A reciprocal relationship in which humans shaped fire technology, while fire simultaneously shaped human biology, cognition, and social structures. The evidence increasingly supports a modified version of the progressive mastery theory. Different capacities for controlling fire emerged at different times, creating a stepped progression of increasing mastery rather than a single revolutionary moment. The first stage began approximately 1.51 million years ago with Homo erectus. This early human ancestor appears to have been the first to maintain naturally occurring fire, creating the initial distinction between humans and other animals in their relationship with flame. Archaeological evidence from this period shows sporadic but meaningful fire use. Not yet ubiquitous at all sites, but occurring with sufficient frequency to suggest deliberate maintenance rather than coincidental proximity. This initial fire relationship was likely opportunistic, capturing flames from natural sources like lightning strikes or wildfires. Early humans would have learned to feed these fires, shelter them from wind and rain, and transport them between locations. Even this basic level of control would provide significant advantages: protection from predators, warmth in cooler environments, light during evening hours, and most critically, the ability to cook at least some portion of their diet. The second stage emerged around 400,000–300,000 years ago. Here we see more consistent evidence of hearths, designated areas where fires were repeatedly built in the same locations, suggesting more reliable access to flame. This period coincides with evidence for more sophisticated fire applications, not just cooking, but potentially heat treatment of stone tools, more extensive use of fire in colder environments, and possible landscape management through controlled burning. The archaeological record from this period shows fire evidence becoming more consistent, though still not universal. This pattern suggests improved fire maintenance strategies, but probably not yet reliable fire creation technology. The third and most transformative stage appears to have emerged between 200,000 and 100,000 years ago. This period shows evidence for what archaeologists call habitual fire use, the consistent presence of fire at almost all human habitation sites. This ubiquity suggests humans had finally mastered fire-making technology, the ability to create flame on demand. Though the specific methods remain archaeologically invisible, the consistent presence of fire, regardless of environment or season, indicates this capability. The timing aligns with several critical developments in human evolution: the emergence of Homo sapiens as a species, expansion into diverse environments, and the beginnings of symbolic behavior and complex culture. This three-stage progression resolves many of the paradoxes we've encountered. It explains why anatomical adaptations to cooking might precede evidence for complete fire mastery. Early hominins could cook opportunistically without reliable fire-making technology. It also explains the inconsistent archaeological record. Early fire use would leave patchy evidence because it was itself patchy, opportunistic rather than habitual, maintained rather than created, present in some contexts but not others. The revolutionary insight is that each stage of fire mastery triggered different transformative effects. Each threshold crossed in our relationship with fire enabled new capabilities and created new selection pressures. Even opportunistic cooking provided nutritional advantages. Individuals who preferred cooked food would gain caloric benefits even if cooking was inconsistent. This could begin the anatomical changes we associate with a cooking-adapted species. The more consistent fire use of the second stage would intensify these effects. Regular cooking would strengthen selection for smaller teeth, jaws, and digestive tracts, while providing more reliable excess energy for brain development. But it's the third stage, habitual fire use with on-demand creation, that appears to have catalyzed the explosion of human cultural complexity. With fire available regardless of natural conditions, humans gained unprecedented control over their environment. This complete fire mastery created the conditions for extended social time around evening fires. Regular nighttime gatherings, with faces illuminated and attention focused, provided the perfect context for language development, teaching, planning, and storytelling. The evidence suggests these firelight social contexts were uniquely powerful in shaping human cognition. The combination of focused attention, extended time, and social proximity created an environment that selected for specifically human cognitive traits. This explains why symbolic behavior, complex technology, and evidence of abstract thinking appear relatively suddenly in the archaeological record. These capabilities were always potential within the human brain, but needed the right context to flourish. Firelight provided that context, a regular, reliable environment that selected for narrative thinking, long-term planning, symbolic communication, and teaching. The campfire became humanity's first classroom, theater, and social forum. This revelation transforms our understanding of human uniqueness. We are not merely the cooking ape or the tool-making animal. We are the species shaped by firelight. Our minds and cultures evolved in the flickering light of controlled flame. The genetic evidence supports this co-evolutionary story. Analysis of genes involved in smoke detoxification shows selection patterns consistent with increasing fire exposure across human evolution, with intensification during the period of habitual fire use. Neurological research adds another dimension. Studies show firelight creates distinctive patterns of brain activity that facilitate certain cognitive processes, particularly creative thinking, social bonding, and narrative processing. These neural responses appear to be human universals, present across cultures, suggesting they represent ancient adaptations to firelight environments rather than culturally learned associations. The implications extend beyond understanding our past. This revelation about fire's role in shaping human cognition helps explain certain peculiarities of modern human psychology and behavior. our attraction to flickering light sources, from candles to television screens, the calming effect of watching flames, the universal human tendency to gather around sources of light and warmth. These may all be echoes of our evolutionary history with fire. Even our sleep patterns bear the imprint of this ancient relationship. The human tendency towards segmented sleep, with periods of nighttime wakefulness, may reflect adaptation to environments where firelight extended social activity into evening hours. Our cognitive strengths in narrative thinking, mental time travel, and abstraction may all have been shaped by selection pressures created by regular firelight social contexts. We think the way we do, partly because our ancestors thought around flames. This understanding resolves the central paradox we began with. Fire didn't simply provide practical benefits like cooking, warmth, and protection. It created the environmental context that shaped human cognitive evolution. The archaeological evidence increasingly supports this three-stage progression. Recent analyses of ancient sites using new detection methods reveal the gradual spread of fire technology, with increasing consistency and sophisticated applications over time. Fire mastery thus represents something profound about human evolution, not just a technological innovation, but the beginning of humans' unique relationship with technology, using it to modify our environment rather than merely adapting to existing conditions. In this light, fire becomes the template for all subsequent human technological revolutions. From agriculture to writing, from industrial machinery to digital technology, we have consistently created tools that reshape our environment and in turn reshape us. Our species' journey began around ancient flames, and that relationship continues to define us. Fire wasn't just something humans mastered, it was something that helped create humanity itself. As we extinguish the final embers of our exploration, a profound truth emerges from the smoke. Humanity and fire have been engaged in a dance of mutual creation for over 1 million years, each shaping the other in ways that continue to this day. We are not simply the species that mastered fire, we are the species that fire mastered. Our bodies evolved to consume its transformed foods, our social structures organized around its light and warmth, our minds developed in the focused attention of its glow. When you next sit before a campfire or candle, observe how it captures your attention. That pull is not merely cultural, but biological, the echo of countless generations for whom firelight meant safety, community, and the unique opportunity to transcend immediate concerns. In this flickering light, you participate in perhaps the oldest human ritual, connecting you to an unbroken chain of ancestors stretching back 1 million years, all gathered around the transformative power of controlled flame. The story of fire and humanity isn't finished. From cooking technologies to energy production, our relationship with controlled combustion continues to evolve. What began with maintaining embers in ancient landscapes has led to technologies that harness the power of the sun itself. Yet as we develop new relationships with energy and light, something may be lost when we no longer gather regularly around actual flames. What cognitive and social effects might emerge from this shift away from fire's primordial influence? This question invites us to reconsider our modern relationship with light, heat, and community. Perhaps in understanding fire's profound role in creating humanity, we might better navigate our relationship with the technologies that now shape our future. For in the end, we remain the species born of fire, our minds and cultures kindled in ancient flames. If you've enjoyed this exploration of humanity's oldest technology, subscribe to our channel for more journeys into the forgotten forces that made us who we are today.